They look like they had somewhat of a budget. They had some, I don't know where the budget went, but it looks like they, damn, just spit at me. Now, so obviously we're going to be talking about something that's in our carousel right now, and something that you all came for. We had another reboot, or I guess an adaptation, we can call this.
Yeah.
And of course, for this, not only because he's going to be up here playing in our fun little tournament we're going to be doing in just a few moments, but every time we have something to do with anime or Japanese culture, we get the most Japanese guy we can find, Deuce over here. There was something that we reviewed on here a long time ago. It feels long ago because it wasn't that great of a movie. The Death Note movie. We came up here and reviewed it ourselves. Being, the gracious God that I am. And I'd said that when we talked about that, talked about Death Note, I came out and flat out said, I'm not a fan of Death Note. I know what it is. And me saying I'm not a fan of it isn't saying I think it's bad. It was just kind of a middle of the road movie. When they came out with that caveat and saying this isn't a 100% adaptation to Death Note, I said, you know what? Fine. You came in, you took some things from here, from the original Death Note anime, and everything else you decided to do your own thing, and that's fine. It wasn't that great. I gave it a rental, and I said it belongs on the place where it was, and it was on Netflix, and there's the day right there, August 25th, so late last year. So, to show that we're fair, we didn't jump on it like everybody else did. This is the worst adaptation. This is the worst thing ever. People, let me take you back. If you want to talk about Death Note being the worst thing that you've ever seen when it came to adaptations of cartoons into a live action thing, let me refresh your memory.
But some believe there is still hope.
You may already be too late.
Never forget that the last Airbender existed. Don't forget that. What'd you say, dude?
No, I said put back Death Note. I'll take that back.
Yeah. That's why that shit pissed me off when Death Note came out and they were saying, this is a fuck you, this is that. I'm like, y'all out of y'all goddamn mind. I've seen way worse. Keep in mind, we've also had some things that have come out and been also just as bad, if not as worse as The Last Airbender. We had something that I know you two weebs are a massive fan of, DB. What's wrong? Is there a problem, fellas? Is there an issue?
Honestly, when I finally did see this, I wasn't outraged the way a lot of people were, just because when I heard they were making this, I was like, that's a terrible idea.
Yeah.
A live-action Dragon Ball movie is an awful, awful, awful idea.
What are you talking about? This is I'm seeing this like I want to throw money at this now. Now we're talking about Dragon Ball Evolution, that mess that took those two actors from Shameless. And so, you know what? Let's throw them in here and we can make these white people Japanese and do whatever we got to. We'll have fun, whatever. So we've had that, and then just not to keep it to a small little area, they have tried to come out and turn around and make big, huge blockbuster, we'll say, or summer release movies of animes or cartoons turned into live action. Last year, we had Ghost in the Shell, which they came out and tried to do their best impression of Blade Runner. It failed miserably. But they came out and said, listen, we're going to be taking direct notes from, and they did something that was a little bit different than what Death Note did. Death Note is like, we're going to take, little portions and then we're going to fill the rest in ourselves. Ghost in the Shell is like, we're going to try to remain 100%, well, not 100% faithful. We're going to try to remain as faithful as possible. So you see, there's clips in there from, there's segments in the Death Note movie from the actual manga, then there's clips in there from the TV show, and then there's clips in there from the movie, and the second movie, and then the second season of the TV show, and then the other season of the TV show. So they came in and did a whole bunch of stuff with Ghost in the Shell, and also was one of those movies where it's just like, all right, let's just stop doing this. And Netflix said, stop, hammer time. We got one more for you. And keep in mind, people, this is not a Netflix-produced movie like Death Note was. This was actually a movie that was produced by its own movie studio. It had its own company and everything. And then Netflix turned around and was like, "We got so much money, we don't know what to do with it."
We Netflix, bitch.
Netflix is losing their minds. They are balling out of control right now when it comes to taking over TV shows and movies.
They've been buying a lot of garbage recently.
But now, people, we have the Netflix, and I'm just gonna say Netflix because that's how we're seeing it for the first time here in this country. The Netflix version of Fullmetal Alchemist, and just in case you guys need a quick refresher, here's a trailer for you guys.
You know you want to dance to this.
This is the American commercial. This isn't the one that's been released in Japan. So they're like, yeah, you know what Americans like? This fun pop music. It's fun for the family. Oh, wait, what? What's going on there? But yes, you have the Fullmetal Alchemist trailer right there, which from what we saw when we first laid our eyes on it, we said this is a little interesting. It's a specific way to go. It's a different way to go, but maybe it can be good. I remember when we first saw this, I was like, all right, it kind of looks okay. There's certain things, there's certain aspects in this movie or in this trailer that looks enjoyable. So for this first 10 minutes, and fellas, I'm going to need you to kind of hold back and do the opposite of what Martin Thomas would do. So I'll give you 10 minutes. Our first 10 minutes, we're going to try to avoid spoilers. With this Fullmetal Alchemist movie, we I'll start with positives. I will start with positives.
This won't take long.
I would say of everyone up here on Double Toes, and of present company included, I would say I'm the most optimistic of these people when it comes to these things. I will say some good things. One, they look like they had somewhat of a budget. They had some. I don't know where the budget went, but it looks like they. Damn, just spit at me. That's like that would. Dude, you. The way you put that, you caught me off guard, man. Yeah, but they had somewhat of a budget. Obviously, they had enough of a budget to throw in things like trains. And they, you know what? I'll give them credit for something else. When it came to getting these sets down, they nailed the sets. Yes, that's something that they did a great job of. People, if you don't know anything about Fullmetal Alchemist, it takes place in a kind of like the same spot as Attack on Titan, where it's a European country. I believe it's either influenced by the Netherlands or it's influenced by or Germany.
It feels very German.
Yeah, so you'll have places like this, or when the towers aren't being broken down, places that look like this, and you're like, all right, I feel like I'm in Eastern Europe. I'm in the Full Metal world, because in the earlier parts of Fullmetal Alchemist, when they weren't going into Ishval, it was a lot of stuff like this. It was a lot of Germanic buildings, or a lot of we'll just go with Germany, Germanic buildings, and a military that was very similar to a German style. So they got that right. How did you guys feel about the what's the word I'm looking for? The set pieces, or the locations.
I guess from a visual standpoint, I agree with you in the terms of just like the looks of the buildings and the architecture. But one thing that I noticed right off the bat within the first sequence is, man, these areas feel like ghost towns. They are empty. There's no one there, like, at all. And finally, when it does get to a point where they like go into a plaza or a shopping center or whatever during this chase sequence, you do see some people, and there are like 20 people there. It's like, man, it feels weird. It just like these people like chasing each other and just like this big empty town. It felt like a scene almost out of 28 Days Later. But in terms of the actual architecture, and even the shots with the train, when you see the train going through the countryside, a lot of those look like they were taken right from the show, particularly the countryside shot of the train. I was like, oh, okay, that looks right. And so does the childhood home that they were in. Those things do feel like they were lifted right from the show. So okay, yeah, I agree with you there.
All right, Deuce?
I'm kind of somewhere in between y'all two.
Okay.
I didn't mind that there wasn't a lot of people in. I know which particular shot you're talking about.
Yeah.
I felt like they were I knew what they were going for, so it didn't really bug me. But that was present more so whenever you start to get to a lot of the first introductions of the military scenes, where there's just wide open spaces with not a lot of troops in them, which does harken back to kind of how well they're using the space, but I also do agree with you on the fact that they don't shy away from color in this, and a lot of the set pieces are very pretty, and especially since you're drawing from a lot of European influences, in particular Germany. I don't know if either of y'all have been there, but while I was there, I was sitting here and I was like, yes, they captured kind of the same architectural style and derived a lot of the similar colors that you'd see there. So I was in particular, the set pieces, I was impressed.
Like Gert said, when they showed the childhood home of Alphonse and Edward, you're like, all right, it feels like it was lifted straight out of the anime. Like that right there, it looks exactly like their father's office. You got the transmutation circle there. You got the library. You got the lights coming in. You're like, wow, like they paid a lot of attention to the anime, and they wanted to. Again, it felt like somebody made a lot of what the person who was working on the sets made this with their heart. And to back up what Gert said, there are even certain frames in this movie that are taken from the anime. Like this shot right here. This is this is just a character. I might say some characters, but they're not really spoilers because they're part of it. This is on Sho Tucker's doorsteps. When right after something very tragic happens, if you watch the anime, you know about it. Yeah. But they're like, you know what? We may not be able to do this exactly, but we're going to try our damnedest. And they took a shot. You know, it's outside. They stand on the steps. They have everything out there. And they're like, you know what? We want to show that we're paying attention to it. I feel like they took the right route of going, hiring Japanese people. Yes. We will not have any kind of Ghost in the Shell controversies.
If you're worried about whitewashing, no.
When it's done in the native language, I feel like it's a little bit more of a connect with me as opposed to it just feels like something strange and different. And, you know, I think they did a good job of that. Now, when it comes to the looks of the characters, I know one of the first things that I asked Deuce about watching the Fullmetal Alchemist movie, and I was like, all right, you know, how is it? And he said one thing in particular. He was talking about Alphonse. He said, you know what? The CGIs, there's some things about it that they didn't do great, but with Alphonse, they did the best that they could. You got Alphonse there in the anime missing the hand. He's like, God damn it, how do I fap now? But you got Alphonse right there in the obviously the metals, the suit of armor. If you don't know anything about Fullmetal Alchemist, his soul is bound to it because his brother was messing with some shit he shouldn't have been messing with in the first goddamn place. Yeah. So you got Alphonse there, and then in the live action remake, you got Alphonse right there in CGI. Now, when he's standing still and there's not a lot of stuff happening, I think Alphonse looks great. Like when he's just sitting there. Now, when he has to start moving and he starts looking like a rubbery suit of armor, that's the problem.
There are some shots where he does look really good, but there are a lot of shots, like you're saying, there's not a sense of weight to him. There are scenes where he's being like pushed around by Edward and he just feels so light. There's no sense of mass. And the sound design on him isn't that great either. That's one thing that the show did too. When every time he took a step, he felt massive.
To go on to the other characters, and I'll go through all of them really quick, and then we'll talk about the rest of them, because I just wanted to, highlight Al, because again, he is one of the main protagonists of this series.
He's like the heart of the whole story.
Yeah, because his brother's a dick. His brother, Edward, he is the Fullmetal Alchemist. Everybody always, again, I'm speaking to the people who've never seen Fullmetal or know anything about it. If Edward is the first, I guess, protagonist of Fullmetal Alchemist with his brother as well. He is the Fullmetal Alchemist, and things you need to know about him. He's an asshole. He doesn't like people talking about his height, and he did something that kind of ended up having his brother be in a metal suit and him losing an arm and a leg. Yeah. Now, you have Edward right there, and then you have the guy playing him in this Japanese version, and again, or this live action version. Again, that didn't bother me. It's like, yo, you did the best that you could. You put this god awful wig on this.
That wig is rough.
It's rough. You know what though? I'm not even mad at it because the one in the Fantastic Four movie was so much worse, and that had a $200 million budget. Fair. It's like, all right, I will be fair with this, and you know what? It's not the best wig, but I've seen way worse. Now, we can keep going on. Now, this guy is my favorite character of all of Full Metal, and I'm including the movies, the anime, and even this as well. My boy Maze Hughes. This guy, I love him so much. He's my favorite character because he is just a goofball, and like he's down to fight when he has to. You definitely want him on your squad. He's smart. He's loyal. He's a dope guy. But he could be annoying at times, especially when he's talking about his goddamn family. He's like, shut the hell up. I don't care about your daughter. Shut up.
Yeah. So you and your perfect life, get the fuck out of my face.
Yeah. So you're like, all right, when we talk about Edward being the heart of Fullmetal Alchemist, I feel like he is the soul. Because especially with Mace Hughes, I feel like he was the soul because certain things transpire and you're like, holy shit, no. But with Mace Hughes, he was definitely one of my favorite characters in the anime. And again, in this movie, I feel like they kind of got him right. Like he's got his look. He looks like one of the better actors they could have cast for Mace Hughes. And then you have some other members in the military. You got your boy, Colonel Mustang here, Roy Mustang, the Flame Alchemist. He's probably the most badass character in this show. Because he's got, obviously, but he seared his wound shut. Like, how more gangster do you need to be?
Metal as fuck.
But yeah, he did that. And then even in here, like, he was portrayed okay. He really wasn't the ones I feel like, oh, wow, he jumped off the page at me. It's like, nah, he's okay. And even in the way he is portrayed in this, he seems a little less authoritative.
Yes,
he doesn't really command a presence in the room like he does in the anime.
You took more aloof.
You
took the words right out of my mouth.
Now, to these two homunculi here, I feel like they were even done well. You got your boy Gluttony. If you don't know anything about the homunculi, they're basically artificial people, and they, I don't want to, there's something that's a spoiler that we'll talk about later, but I feel like with the look of these guys, they actually got them right in certain parts, because with Gluttony, when it's just him, like, and it's just the human face, you're like, that's fucking creepy, that's badass, I love that.
That looks great.
That was scary as fuck. I've, ever since I was a kid watching Fullmetal Alchemist, man, Gluttony freaks me the fuck out.
Yeah.
And so whenever I saw the close up and I actually see him when he's certain scenes, I'm like, oh, that reminds me just like how I feel as a kid. I wouldn't want to be left in the room alone with that fucker.
He's unnerving as fuck.
Yeah, and even in here, he's and they did whoever this guy is, he did a decent job of portraying him because the whole time he's just following another character around and doing what he did in the anime, just saying, please, can I do this? Can I do this? And then the second he gets a chance to do it, that smile comes up and you're like, oh shit, we about to die. So they did him great. Now, this last homunculi, this is the one I feel that they did the best because every time this chick came on screen,
there you go.
I was like, yes, there she is. Now, who am I talking about? I'm talking about the one that is responsible for a lot of wet dreams in the anime world. Lust. Lust in this movie, in the anime, again, if you did not watch Full Metal, she is another homunculi. They're all named after the 7 deadly sins. So you got lust, gluttony, sloth, so on and so forth. And with Lust, one of the big things about her is she would always come in and command a room. And she was like the antithesis to Mustang. Because with Mustang, he would come in and be like, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And like his voice and his stature and everything would make you feel like, all right, he's commanding this room. Lust would just slink her way into the room and be like, you over there, kill yourself. And they'd be like, damn, you sexy as shit. And they hurt themselves. But with Lust in here, man, bravo, because I'm sorry, y'all, they crushed her, and I wish I had more scenes with her that I could actually show her talking and doing what she does in the live action movie, because when she's slinking through the room, you feel like she's a menace, but you don't know until it's too late. And I feel like they did a great job with her.
You always feel like she's planning something, and this was the character I was referring to. I don't know where they found her, but that woman walks with a lot of power, and she knows she's got it. So and that helps her so much, because that entire time I was like, damn, girl, you do got, man. I'd throw myself into one of those spears. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I said, but no, she commanded every single time she was on that camera. And I think she was probably one of the strongest characters in this entire movie, because I just felt like she was another example of just jumping off the page with charisma. And she had everything that I wanted Mustang to have, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
I thought she felt pretty right on too. The one issue I did have with her character is she's the character that probably has the most effects around her, with the exception of Alphonse. And I felt like the effects they did with her fingers here, I wasn't feeling it. They felt like spaghetti noodles a lot of the time.
This is where we jump into spoiler territory. I'm pretty sure you guys it's a Netflix movie. I've either already seen it or I don't give a shit. I'm just going to watch it anyway. But now we're jumping into spoiler territory. Remember the comb? When that pops back up, that's when you can take us off mute to do whatever you need to do, and then you can hear our rating. Now, spoiler territory. with Lust and Colonel Mustang. There is a very, very particular thing that happens between them. It's obviously when Mustang kills Lust. And I feel like they lifted that very well. Of all the things in here, they lifted that well from the anime. Now, I took a screenshot of how it happened in the next Netflix version and then how it happened in the anime version. Now, in the anime version, Roy just takes her, he burns her up, and she has a little speech at the end saying, "You killed me. I can't wait to see that look on your face. It's so cold. You're going to die one day. Fuck your blog, niggas." Like shit like that. And so, like, she dies and she goes out like that. So you're like, all right, I wonder if they're going to do that in this. And they did. They did, they didn't do it like the particle effects like they did here. They actually used fire, which is how she dies. And it wasn't like an evaporation thing. Her body just kind of went away in this. But she kind of had that same thing as like, "You son of a bitch, how dare you?" Like, they had that same speech. I was like, all right. Y'all did that well. Again, something you lifted straight from the anime, and you did a good job with that. This CGI is rough, man. This is some like reboot level CGI. It's bad. It was rough. It's to quote Charles Barkley, terrible. The CGI in here, it really could have used another pass, especially when it came to the fight scenes, because a lot of stuff is happening and it's supposed to look cool. And in the anime, it looks amazing because again, it's animated and they can do a lot more with movement and things. But here, obviously, they have much more of a budget. Like, you have stuff right here with the priest creating things out of the dirt and out of the surrounding buildings. That really doesn't look great. You have moments in here where things like this, it looks really goofy. That one I really didn't mind, but there's a bunch of things in here where the CGI it's really bad. And it's somewhat of a double-edged sword. I will still give credit to the CGI in this movie. It did alchemy right. I feel like I'm getting wild looks on the other side of the table because dudes are like, don't. But they did alchemy right. They didn't make it feel like magic, because anytime they would go to either perform alchemy or transmute something as performing alchemy in this series. And anytime they did that, it looked like alchemy. I'm not gonna say it looked good, but it looked like things are being created from everything else around it, which is what alchemy is. It's not just making something out of nothing. You're taking this piece of something and turning it into this, removing an atom, adding, a certain content, and just changing the shape and size of what it is. So
they take quite a while to explain what alchemy is.
Oh, they take a minute.
Yeah, and that's a problem because the movie opens with them doing human alchemy, and because you don't really know what alchemy is, you don't really have a context of why this is so fucked up, what they're doing. And the principle of alchemy, the equivalent exchange aspect of it, that's like the driving force of the entire story.
One of the
keep in mind, with these series, the anime series, every episode starts with the theory of equivalent exchange.
Yes.
This is alchemy.
They
you can do this.
you.
Yeah, they give you a refresher just in case you haven't seen the show before.
Yeah.
This is what these people do.
That's how this movie should have opened.
Yeah, no, fuck you. That's what this movie said.
You know, that train pulled up into the station, and I was like, that looks like it came out of Thomas and Friends. And I don't know where the
train got a face on it.
Yeah, I was like, where the fuck did that train come from? If you just had more money, maybe you can make it look sharper. Maybe you can actually bring to life a lot of these things, because, like you mentioned earlier, this anime relies on a lot of kinetic, high-speed movement and a lot of quick and they didn't even ever do the part where, it's from the 2003 anime and Brotherhood, where, he claps his hands and sometimes sparks come up, like, electricity shows for alchemy, and they never do that. On top of that, the only person who I think comes out pretty all right is Colonel Mustang, and that's because his can be combined with a practical effect, and it's fire. It's not that hard to get that right.
Yeah, fire is very easy to do when it comes to CGI, to not make it look crazy.
And even that, did you notice when he snapped his fingers and then the flame would just kind of go like, when you see the shows, when he snaps his fingers, it's like it pops and it bursts and it blows up. Here, it's like he snaps his finger and then just like fire slivers out of his glove.
Again, if you're never seen this and you're wondering what we're talking about, this scene right here.
How many times is it gonna take?
I won't spoil it, sis. You want to watch the rest of it. But yeah, you saw right there. There's nothing in between that lighter and the explosion. Maybe you'll see like a little spark of lightning going through, but that's occasionally. Everything else is just explosion and pain. Yeah. But in this one is, shh, I'll get you. I got lighter fluid. Look out. I'll stop you. And there's a certain character I really didn't like the way they did her, Winry. I wasn't a big fan of her in the anime, but like in this one, she's like way worse. Like in the anime, it feels like she served a function. Like she's the person that works on Ed's automail, so his arm and his legs, and she feels like an accomplished, smart person, but she's also a pseudo love interest. But in this one, it just made her so like, I'm here, I'm along for the ride. Like, yay!
There's never a scene where you see her fix his automail. There's a scene where she sees that it's been damaged, and they showed it in the trailer, but that's like her whole thing is that she takes care of him, and we never see that.
They're trying to condense a good chunk of episodes. I would say stuff that takes about 5 hours to develop. They're trying to condense it into a 2-hour and 11-minute movie, and it doesn't translate well. And I think that's going to be a problem for a lot of people watching this for the first time, is you're going to have a lot of questions that are going to go unanswered.
Yeah.
You don't know why certain things are happening. You don't know why characters had these motivations. You don't know why Winry is there. You don't know. Yeah. You don't know why certain characters decide to act certain ways. Prime example, like I said, Maze Hughes was one of my favorite characters, and now we're in spoiler territory. Maze Hughes is one of my favorite characters, and one of the reasons was obviously he's a big goofball, but he's still loyal and rocks with his squad. He's a family man. But one of his biggest things is he's like I'm not going to say a spy, but he's like kind of the guy on the inside for Mustang. Yeah. Because Mustang is saying, yo, I feel like something ain't right. What's going on here? And Hughes is the one that starts putting all these pieces together that the audience is like relating with. The audience is like, yo, I see what's going on. I hope somebody figures this out. And Maze figures it out. Maze Hughes, he figures it out. And one of his big things in the series is, outside of being the inside man for Colonel Mustang, is that he loves his family first and foremost above everything. And in this movie, there's a segment in here where you actually go and get to meet the Hughes family. Here it is right here, where you get to meet his wife, and they go in there and have fun and talk about everything. And she's pregnant at the time, so you're just like, all right, cool. Like I think that's dope. Maybe there will be a time skip and the daughter will pop up at some point. Nah. The daughter it doesn't happen at all. And that was one of the most heartbreaking for me. For a lot of people in Fullmetal Alchemist, the heartbreaking moment is the Chimera one with Shil Tucker's daughter and the dog Alexander. Yeah. But when Maze Hughes dies,
that's another one for a lot of people.
That was the roughest in all anime, the roughest emotional scene that I've ever seen to this day. Yeah. Because he dies. He's trying to make a phone call. Lust busts into it's Lust, right? In this movie, it's Lust.
Yep. It's Lust, in the show too.
Lust busts into his office, and he throws a knife in the head. She gets him in like the kidneys or some shit, and he runs out. He goes to make a phone call to call Mustang and say, "Yo, go to laboratory number 5. Motherfuckers is wilding." And he's calling Mustang. He doesn't even get a chance to say anything in the anime. He's calling Mustang, and he turns around and sees what's her name? Ross? Lieutenant Ross. Yeah. He turns around and sees one of his subordinates behind him, and he's like, wait a second. Like Ross has a mole, and he's like, wait a second. Ross's mole's on the other side, and he's like, you ain't shit. And so he figures out that it's an homunculi. So he turns around, still trying to finish the phone call. He's pulling out a knife, and he's about to throw this knife at the homunculi, and turns around. It's his wife, and he's like, I can't kill my wife. I love my wife. That's everything. Wife shoots him, pop, he's dead. Mustang answers the phone and is like, what? Hughes isn't able to tell him anything. It goes off like that. And then a few minutes later, it flashes to his funeral. And like you see they having a military funeral, they throw him in the ground, they're throwing dirt on him, and then his daughter is just losing her mind. Yeah. Like she's just saying, like him and his daughter have a really close relationship. He shows pictures of her and him to everybody. And she starts crying and tugging on her mom. She's like, wait, Daddy's got to wake up. He can't do his job if he's covered in dirt. What's going on? Like, you see this little kid not understand death. And I'm just like, oh, no. Like, not like this. Like,
they really screwed the pooch with that whole sequence and with that character, because you got 3, like, important players in that scene. You got You got Hughes, you got Mustang, and you got Envy, and they dropped the ball with all three.
Yeah.
Because Hughes, like you said, he's a huge family man. Like his relationship with his wife and his daughter are what define him. Mustang, he and Hughes are best friends, and the anime goes out of their way to show just how close they are. They've been through the shit together. And with Envy, Envy's the most sadistic character in the series.
Yep.
And is a malicious, violent piece of shit.
Yeah.
And because they don't address any of those character traits, when you see it here, it's hollow. It's hollow as shit.
Takes the power out of it a lot.
Yeah.
And they did an unnecessary change in that scene too.
They show it twice.
Yes. Okay, here's the thing. In the series, I think I said it right the first time. I said Envy turns into his wife, right? I didn't say Lust. Okay. So Lust is in the office. Envy is the one that turns into his wife, and then turns into Ross, and then turns into his wife. She shoots him. Scene, funeral. In this, it's weird because in this, he turns into the Hawkeye, right? No, then he turns into Mustang.
He turns into Mustang.
Yeah, he's Mustang first, and then he turns into his wife. And then he turns back into Mustang.
Yeah.
So you're just like, wait, what? So in this one, they set it up to where in the anime, and I'll speak for Brotherhood. I can't remember if it happened the same way in the original. But in Brotherhood, she comes up behind him. She's Ross, and then she turns into his wife. And then they have the funeral. And then the big thing is Ross. Everybody's saying Ross killed Hughes. But in this one, they say instead of Ross killed Hughes, they say Colonel Mustang killed Hughes, and now he's a fugitive on the run. And then they cut to him being in laboratory number 5.
Yeah.
And so you're like, wait, how did we get here?
And since we're in spoiler territory, that mystery lasts all but 5 minutes.
It's like, pop. Well,
that was a minute. That was literally like, oh, they're blaming Colonel Mustang. No, they're not.
Remember,
he was fine. He was just there.
Remember, like in the show, like that became Mustang's like motivation for like over half the series is finding out who the fuck did it.
But no,
it's not here.
Not here. Like it took stuff out of the anime and they put things in certain places that didn't belong. They had certain characters die before they should have. They left a bunch of characters out. Armstrong's not in here. Scar's not in here.
You're King Bradley.
King Bradley don't show up.
Yeah.
They flash forward like 17 episodes into the dummies of the Philosopher's Stone white dummies taking over a specific lab, and everybody's got to shoot them and take them down. Or no, the Chimera was supposed to fight them, and Chimera and Ed were supposed to come together and fight all these dummies, but instead the military shoots them in the head.
Guys, you don't need all that. What you talking about? You don't need none of that. Think what you need right here.
These lines go to different characters. Certain characters not show up. That it's disheartening. It really is. In Ghost in the Shell, I feel like they at least they changed something. They didn't give it to somebody else or just like axe out a character and do that. So like you notice it if you were a fan of the show and when you're watching the live action movie, but you're just like, all right, I'll brush past it. But in this one, they just keep going back to it. So you're just like, not only am I hit with it once, I'm hit with it twice or even 3 times in some instances. The Maze death, you're hit with it 3 times because you get it the first time, you're like, all right, it's not right that he's being killed by Mustang, and then his wife, that's a little off there. Then they come back and show that scene again where 2 witnesses see Mustang shoot the guy or shoot Hughes, and then you come back to it again when Mustang makes the comment to Envy when they're in a tunnel and saying your mole's on the wrong side. So I got hit with that same scene. This is one of the most impactful scenes of this show and one of the most impactful scenes in anime period, and you've ruined it 3 times for me. Like what are you doing? With this Fullmetal Alchemist movie, do I think it is the worst adaptation from anime or from animation to live action that we have ever had in the pantheon of films? No.
No way.
Trash. That movie should be thrown in the fire.
Masterpiece.
But with no, it is not. But is this one of the best? Fuck no. To be honest, and it might sound wild. I enjoyed this more than the Death Note movie, and that was because I was one, I think much more of a fan of this and actually was able to fill in the story gaps here. And two, this actually felt like they were trying to do something and they just fell short of it. It's like their reach was further than their grasp. Yeah. So I'll give it credit to this, man. It's on Netflix. It didn't bother me as much as it's bothering most people. This is a rental for me.
You can't help but feel like this is a lackluster, lesser version of something that's out there that you can watch. That is free. It's on Netflix. It's on Kiss Anime. You can watch it for free now. I don't think I hate it more than the Death Note movie. I still think that's some shit. So I'm gonna give this some more bullshit. I mean, I don't see a need for you to watch this if you've seen the anime, honestly. And I watched this shit twice. I watched it the first time before, and then
Why you do that?
while I was pet sitting today, I was like, oh, let me get a refresher.
It's almost 5 hours, man.
No, man,
it's a long ass movie.
I'll never get that time back.
And there's a stinger here after the credits, that I actually kind of liked. Not enough to make me watch the second one of these, though, because honestly, this is well intentioned, like you said, but I think it's ultimately pretty misguided. I feel like they dropped the ball on so many characters, that either just not showing up, like Scar or Colonel Armstrong, or if you're a King Bradley, or characters that do show up that just feel wrong. I think Mustang doesn't feel quite right. Riza Hawkeye feels terrible in this. So she's got this look on her face like a deer in headlights every time she's on screen, and she's one of the most badass characters in the series. And Envy is another character that I really like a lot, where they drop the ball with him. And they kind of screwed up with the two brothers, because a big part of Fullmetal Alchemist is that they're kids. They're children. They're like 15 or 14 years old, something like that. And here they're like in their mid-20s. So
I'll give you that.
The story doesn't hold a whole lot of weight. It's weird when you see Edward Elric and Riza Hawkeye and Maria Ross all kind of looking the same age. For me, it didn't make me like mad, but it's a mess, and I honestly can't recommend watching it. Like you brought up, Deuce, or excuse me, TJ.
You know what his name is.
I know who I am.
You have the original anime, both of them, 2003 and Brotherhood, on Netflix right now, and you can still find them in other ways. I see no reason to see this. For me, it's some old bullshit. It sucks. It's a bummer. This could have been good.
I think we're not. I mean, a rental and some old bullshit is not that far off. So
yeah, no, I get why you gave it a rental.
Yeah, I wasn't like, oh my god, you had to give it a map. Maybe that's
better than sex.